Welcome to the Popcorn Wine Down with Tammy and Eddie. Grab your popcorn, get yourself a glass of wine, and come hang out with us as we discuss TV shows, movies, music, and pop culture.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wine Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week we will be reviewing the old guard, but first, the news. Releases are back in the news this week. The one thing that seemed to be steady is music during this pandemic. And Taylor Swift released her surprise album Folklore last week, which was amazing. And also, BTS announced that they are going to release their first all-English single on August 21st. I know I, as well as the rest of the world, am really excited about that. And Blackpink, a group that you're familiar with, they're a K-pop girl band. They're going to release their first full album on October 3rd. I'm not too familiar with Blackpink. I admit my K-pop knowledge stops at BTS.
Starts and stops at BTS.
BTS, yes.
No, like what I've learned is I listened to a couple of Blackpink's songs and singles that they've come out with, and I have to say they're kind of on the level of like just being the girl version of BTS on their success, on how successful they have been. They haven't put in as much time as BTS, but they've had a lot of success in a very, very short time frame. And so people are really, really excited about this new album coming out because when they premiere their singles, they hit number one just like BTS does. So I would love to see like what number they're going to be on the Billboard charts when they actually release their CD.
Well, cool. I'll have to check it out. Sam Smith also released a new song, My Oasis, with British rapper Burna Boy. It's typical Sam Smith. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that if you are a Sam Smith fan, then you should like the song. And once again, it's called My Oasis, and I love it too. Congrats to Jonas' brother, Joe Jonas, and his wife, Sophie Turner. They welcomed their first child, a little girl named Willa. So the big release news happens to do with movies. Tentatively speaking, fingers crossed, this is concrete, set in stone, tentatively again.
Right now,
which means it could be pushed back again. But the movie theaters are set to open at the end of August. And TENET is going to have a worldwide release in late August. That's Christopher Nolan's big movie, and it was a tentpole movie for the summer. We've talked a lot about it. So it's going to premiere, and I think the big boom for that was they finally got permission to release it in China. And so after Labor Day weekend, or I think around Labor Day weekend, it's going to be released here in the US, but they're not going to have New York or LA premieres for it. I don't believe it's actually going to be shown in those in movie theaters in those cities.
I think that they're kind of based on what like I read is that while it's going to be a worldwide release, they're going to release it around the world. It's going to kind of be a limited release in the United States based on, you know, where our numbers are with this virus, on where it's going to be. But for right now, it's not looking like it's going to be premiering in LA or in New York City just because of the numbers.
Well, I know California is back on a mini shutdown in a lot of areas. So as much as I'm looking forward to that, I don't know that I'm still ready to go to the movies just based on what our numbers are here locally. So we'll see how that goes for TENET. And also, as I said before, I really think that they should hold off on releasing a lot of movies this year, because if they try to push all the movies that they were going to release into the next few months, the 2021 slate is going to be completely blank, especially the first few months. And that just depends on where we are with the cure or vaccine and all that other stuff.
But a lot of movies are going, like production is really starting up in LA again. You have movies that are taping, if they're taping in other countries, besides the United States, they're actually starting up their productions on those movies. Because I know like Jurassic Park was went back into production, and they were taping scenes for the newest Jurassic Park that is supposed to be coming out. So I think it's based on where their production is. But yeah, I'm interested to see. But I think a lot of movies were pushed back to next year as well. Like we do have movies that are coming out in like November and October, and we don't know based on the numbers on if they're actually going to premiere. I think Tenet is going to definitely be the test run on how they're going to be able to do this and how Hollywood is going to be able to come back full force. But there are a lot of movies that were pushed back to 2021, so they'll have some stuff that they can move around for next year. We won't be completely without movies next year.
Well, that's good. AMC, speaking of which, AMC, the movie theater chain, not the television station, they and Universal have mended fences. They had an ugly breakup, like a lot of couples at the beginning of the pandemic. And what happened is Universal, who produces the Fast and Furious franchise, they said that they were going to release Fast and Furious directly to VOD. And
while it was going to be in the theater.
I'm sorry?
Like when they said that they were going to release it VOD while it was in the theater?
No, they were because, when we started, a lot of movies went directly to VOD, but most of those were mostly the independent movies. And so Universal was the first major production studio that said that they were going to release a big production like Fast and Furious 9 to VOD. And that upset AMC. Regal and Cinemark took AMC side, which are other big movie theater chains. And so AMC had threatened to boycott or not show any Universal movies. And so, like I said, I guess once the other chains jumped in on that kind of, so they've been working the last few months towards mending fences, and apparently they have. What they've come up with so far is that AMC or the movie theaters will have a 3-week window in which they exclusively show that movie. And then after 3 weeks, Universal is going to send their movies to VOD. And that would be Apple Stream. That would be like where you can buy it on iTunes, or you can buy it on Amazon, or, maybe rent it for $20 or what have you.
That's a really short time for that. Like 3 weeks? Like
3 weeks is a really short time. And me personally, I kind of hate to see it because I love going to the movies. And to me, there's nothing like watching a movie, especially a big release, in the movie theater. And just the whole ambiance and the setting and everything about going to the movies, paying that ridiculous amount for popcorn and snacks. It's just nothing like it in the world. And even sometimes sitting next to weirdos in the movies, which I don't like. But
or people that talk the whole movie.
We're not naming any names, Tammy. But, so we will see. They're still working out the details of that, but we will see how that goes. So, and speaking earlier, you said that some shows were going back into production. The CW shows, they have listed that they're going back into production. And those shows are Flash, Superman and Lois, or the Lois and Superman, the new show, and Riverdale, Supernatural. Yeah. Now, those 3 shows, Flash, Superman, and Supernatural, are filmed in Canada. So I can understand that because the Canadians have done a great job in, lowering their curve and all of that and getting their numbers under control. Riverdale is filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, and we here in the U.S. have not done a great job of getting our numbers under control.
Still working on it.
Still working on it. So that's why I'm a little skeptical about, other shows when they say that they're going back in production, especially those filmed in California, because they're on a mini lockdown. So I'm not sure how that's going to work for us as far as starting up production.
Well, they have a certain guidelines that they have to follow in order to go back into production. So there are shows that have already started with their production. There are other shows that are going to be starting in late August, along with the CW shows that are taped in LA, taped on studio lots. So, I mean, for right now, I see it happening if they're following the guidelines. But I mean, I guess we'll see once those shows really start production on how that's going to work. But soap operas already started. They're going to be premiering new episodes starting next week for some soap operas. So I know you're excited about that. General Hospital, we talked about it last week. But so I guess based on not really hearing any news about their production, maybe it is possible. But I guess we'll see. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Okay. And then we are going to, speaking of television, award season is coming up, and it usually kicks off with the GLAAD Awards. And I know the GLAAD Awards were held the other night. They were held virtually. And Pose was one of the big winners for the GLAAD Awards.
It won Best Drama Series.
And
then Taylor Swift won the Vanguard Award for being a major ally of the LGBTQ plus community. Schitt's Creek, that's actually the name of it, won for Best Comedy Series and is also nominated for an Emmy. And for film would be Booksmart. Have you seen Booksmart? Did you watch it?
I have. I loved it. It was really good.
Okay. I have not seen Booksmart. It's on my watch list. I do have it, so, don't kill me. But it won for Best Film. And then a surprise, but I guess really not seen as how he's all over the place, is for musical artist, Lil Nas X won for musical artist. He won his GLAAD Award. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, he came out at the height of his career, and it really hasn't seemed to hurt him much. So that's good. Wishing him well. Also, we had the Emmy nominations this week, and there were a lot of surprises and snubs.
Yes.
The Emmys, they were most diverse group of nominations. There were a lot of Black artists, actors and actresses and producers nominated, but not too many other minority groups, which some of them took issue with. Some of the major snubs, though, were Reese Witherspoon. She wasn't nominated for any of her shows as far as the acting categories go.
And she had 3 of them. In the morning show, she had Little Fires Everywhere and Big Little Lies. And she wasn't nominated for any of those. So that was definitely one of the surprises on her being snubbed for all 3 of her acting credits.
Right. Tommy Pelfrey, who is an amazing actor, he wasn't nominated for his role in Ozark. Never Have I Ever, which is one of our favorites, was also skipped over. Rami wasn't nominated, and Pose, again, with the exception of Billy Porter, was left out of all the major acting categories or major categories. I
would say that is even a bigger deal on that. One of the announcers for the Emmy nominations was Laverne Cox, but MJ Rodriguez and India Moore, who are the lead actresses for Pose, were not nominated. They had phenomenal seasons for season 2. And Billy Porter, who won the category that he's nominated for, lead actor, he won it last year, is the only one who's nominated. So that's definitely a little bit of a controversy on the show that is the first major show showing trans women of color, and the lead actresses are not nominated. So yeah, that was a big thing.
Another surprise in a good way, Kerry Washington, she was nominated for 4 Emmys in different categories.
Breaking records.
Zendaya was nominated for her role in Euphoria. Euphoria is an amazing show. It's a little dark.
I'm going to have to sit down and watch it now.
It is so good. And it was surprising, but she deserved it. Hats off to Zendaya. Like I said, Euphoria is amazing. Watchmen led all categories with 26 nominations. And if you haven't seen Watchmen, you need to watch it.
Please watch it. It's
Regina
phenomenal.
King is amazing. It's a really
good
show. And Insecure was finally nominated. Issa Rae is finally getting some love and some props. I love that show. So we will see how it all turns out. And
like before we end, I have to talk about the one snub that I think really, really caught me off guard. Was Daisy Edgar Jones from Normal People. Normal People was not nominated for Best Drama Series, which I think was just
an oversight.
Yes, just an absolute, the worst oversight ever. That was a phenomenal show. If you have not seen it, please, it is on Hulu. It is phenomenal. And the actress who plays the main character, like, she's just on another level on the character that she played, on how she gets you to sympathize with her and feel all of her emotions through the time of her being a teenager up until her 20s. And it's just such a shock that she was not nominated for her role that she had in Normal People.
Yeah, it was amazing. The drama series were Better Call Saul, The Crown, Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, also phenomenal. The Mandalorian, which was a surprise nomination, Ozark, Stranger Things, and Succession. To me, from what I've seen, probably Stranger Things was probably the weakest link on this list.
Like, we're over it. Like, I feel like they nominated just because, but I just feel, I agree with you on that. Like, Stranger Things to me is kind of like Big Bang Theory. Like, they nominated Big Bang every single year, and it kind of took a spot from other comedies that, you know, definitely deserved more recognition, but it was a popular show, so they just kept nominating it. So I think that that's kind of how I feel about Stranger Things.
Well, we will see. And, you know, like Issa said, I'm rooting for everybody Black. So, but I think
Rami.
I'm
going for Rami as well.
And I was going to say that I know there has been a lot of pushback about other groups, other minority groups not being nominated, but I'm at this stage. We're all in this together. So a win for one of us is a win for all of us. And hopefully other shows like Never Have I Ever and Rami, and, you know, that they will all get the due that they deserve, because there's some good television out there being made by everybody, by people of color, not just Black, but Latinos, Muslims, everybody. So, you know, that's just where we have to be in this Hollywood boat right now.
Definitely.
Charlize Theron, the star of the show that we're going to be talking about, the Old Guard, and one of my favorite actresses. She held a socially distant drive-in screenplay of the movie Mad Max and Beyond Fury. And some people were surprised about that, because they're making a prequel to that movie, and it's about her character Furiosa. Well, she was not invited back to play Furiosa, who she played in the movie. So, and some people say, oh, it's because she's too old, which kind of goes to that trope as a woman. She shouldn't be an action star. And, you know, if Tom Cruise can still jump off of buildings at 60, then Charlize Theron can play
Or Liam Neeson at 85 still, you know, doing Taken.
Yeah. You know, Harrison Ford, he's going to be in the next Indiana Jones.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
You know, I just kind of took exception with that, but I'm glad that she's still, you know, supporting the movie and all of that. And maybe all of this talk about her being too old was before the Old Guard came out, and they saw that, hey, I don't care.
She can still do it. Like, I really think, like, she also talked about how people were asking why she's never been in any type of superhero movie, although she was in Aeon Flux. I know, like, that wasn't a very popular movie of hers, but I really loved her in Aeon Flux. And she said she's never been invited to be in any Marvel or DC movie. So DC, I'm gonna need you to wake up and call Charlize, all right, and get her into one of your movies before Marvel snatches her up. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Marvel, I'm gonna need y'all to work on that. Like, and as you say that, I'm just sitting here trying to think of what superhero movie, of what superheroine she could play. And she could play any of them because she kicks ass. But
I actually saw her as Superwoman, if they wanted to bring that character to the film.
I was thinking about that too, since DC has already shown that there is a great divide between their TV universe and their movie universe, because they have two different people playing the Flash. So you could actually do Superwoman. I'm gonna research it a little more, and I'm gonna come up with some roles that I think she would be awesome in. And so that takes us into our discussion today, and we can talk about how awesome she and the rest of the cast were in The Old Guard.
So excited, so excited.
All right, today we are going to talk about The Old Guard on Netflix, which is about a group of centuries-old mercenaries who actually happen to be immortals with the power to heal themselves. And they're set up on a job, and they discover as part of setup that someone actually knows their secret. And so in order to protect their secret and their identities, they have to find out who set them up before they were exposed. And it is amazing. I absolutely love this movie. It stars Charlize Theron as Andy, Kiki Lane as Niall, Matthias Schoenhardt, sorry for that mispronunciation, as Booker, Marwan Kenzari as Joe, Luca Marinelli as Nikki, and Chiwetel Ejiofor as Copley. And Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of my favorite actors. So what did you think about it?
I loved it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I was actually surprised. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it ended up being. I'm a huge fan of Charlize Theron. I love her acting. She's one of my favorite actresses. But I was entertained from beginning to end. And you know how I love movies with like a lot of shootings and killings and everything like that. So of course, like this movie with all of that was definitely an enjoyment for me. So yes, I was entertained and can't wait to see so what did you think of it?
I loved it. And I know Charlize Theron, she's one of my favorite actresses too, but I was actually sold when I heard it was directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. I have been a fan of her since her first movie, Love and Basketball. She is an amazing director, and I shout out to being a female doing an action film and being an African-American female doing an action film. And shout out to her, not to put her on blast or anything, but being over 50 doing an action film. So it's like, that's the trifecta.
Yep.
And, you know, we were speaking earlier about how they were saying that Charlize was too old to play Furiosa or what have you. There are not many women who direct action films, not many African-American women, and not many women over a certain age. So this movie. The only one I know
is Ava. Is the only other African-American female director that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, but Ava hasn't really done an action film, you know? Like
she hasn't. She really hasn't done an action film, but just like as a black director, as a black female director, she's the only other one that I know besides Gina. But I will say, mentioning Love and Basketball, it's such a difference on. I'm amazed at the fact of I love Love and Basketball, and she directed Love and Basketball, and then we have The Old Guard, which I love as well, and she directed that, and they're on opposite sides of the movie genre. So just amazing on her being she must be an amazing director that she can direct these totally two different type of movies.
Yeah, and so that was one that kind of sold me on the movie, and it was a great sell because I thought the movie was fantastic from beginning to end. You know, sometimes you check out during part of a movie and you're like, hey, what? They could have skipped this part, or you could figure it out. There's some things I kind of figured out a little bit, spoiler alert, about
spoiler alert.
Exactly, about who betrayed them. I knew it was Booker just from the way that he was acting, and I knew also that Chiwetel Ejiofor's character Copley was setting them up, but you didn't really understand why. I think both of them did something truly screwed up, but you come to understand their intentions.
They had good reasons. You understood why they were doing it. It's just that you actually did it. You betrayed your family for Booker, and then for Copley he had a great idea in his head, but kind of didn't take into consideration that these were still human beings.
Yeah. And
what you were
well,
doing.
for me, Copley did it because his wife suffered from ALS, and he thought that their immortality, if you could study their immortality and see what made them immortal and gave them the power to heal, then it would take away disease. But he, so I think he did it basically from the grief of losing his wife, and
but still did it wrong on not giving them a choice, like not
exactly
having that conversation, just going and basically kidnapping them,
Exactly. And Booker's portrayal was a little bit harder for me to understand, because he did it because he didn't like being immortal, and he actually wanted to die. It was like, and he didn't give them the choice. So if that's the choice Booker made for himself, then you make it for yourself, but you don't make that for your whole team. You don't make that decision for your whole team.
But I got where he was coming from as well when he was talking to Nikki and Joe when he said, y'all have had each other since the beginning, because they both were like, I guess, born. Their powers appeared. Their immortality came about at the exact same time. And so they've always had each other. And then Booker had Andy, but it's not the same as you just having a friend that you're kind of going through this with, compared to seeing your whole family die and still remembering it. Because when he told the story of his son and, his kids being mad at him at the end when they died, on that he couldn't give them his immortality, I can understand where he was coming from on that. He didn't have anybody to share his life with, and he didn't want to put himself out there because ultimately that person was going to die and he was going to go through what he went through with his kids. So I understood it. I don't agree with it, but I understood where he was coming from.
Well, yeah, and I kind of get that, but Nikki and Joe didn't always have each other, because they met each other fighting in the Crusades. And there's a part where Nikki says, I was taught to hate the love of my life, So it's like they had to get past all that. So I think just over time, they grew to love and respect each other, because there's a line in there where they said they killed each other a lot of times. And it's like, okay, was it part of going through the Crusades, or was it other parts like lovers spat, So that was interesting. But speaking of Nikki and Joe, I find their relationship one of the most fascinating parts of the movie. Like, I love them together.
And how natural their relationship was. Like, it wasn't like, they're together, like, boom, like we filled the quota. Like, no, it wasn't that automatically they told you about it. As the movie went through, you just saw the little scenes of them together. And you were just like, oh, okay, I got it.
It's like, not here's our requisite gay couple to complete our glad quota or whatever. It's just like, it was very subtle how you figured out they were together. Like, you knew they were all close, and you knew they were a family. And when she first mentions them, you just think, oh, they're two members of the team who have already met up. But when you really start to figure out just what their relationship is when they're on the train after they've been set up and they're heading to France, and you see them laying together in the way Nikki is holding Joe.
When they realize now has her immortality has woken up, and they've all dreamed about her. And his just the simple arm around Nikki's waist lets you know that they're together. And I love the subtlety of that.
And then when they kind of give Niall a glimpse of how they fell in love, when they talk about, how they met and all of that. But the scene that gets me is the scene in the van once they've been kidnapped and the soldiers are trying to make fun of them. And he's like, is that your boyfriend? And Nikki went off. It was like,
he was like, you're an infant, you're a
child. Like, I want someone to talk about me that way. Like, it wasn't just that he's the love of my life. It was like, he's the love of my soul, my heart, my everything. I was just like,
yes, he is like the beginning and the end, my alpha and my omega. Like, he just like went into this.
I was like, where can I get one of those? Like, so that story to me, so after that, it's like, oh, okay. And the soldiers, so when they kiss, the soldiers just look like they're in shock, and they do act like infants. But by the time they open up that van, the soldiers are dead, And Nikki and Joe are just sitting there like, what took you so long to open the van? But the best part is they're still zip tied. Like, that's just how badass they are.
And they chose, and that's another thing, they chose to stay zip tied. Like, when I was watching it and you see like that whole thing and then the door opens up and I'm just like, they're telling you like they could have gotten free. So they're gonna allow you to take them. That's exactly what they were saying in that scene. Like, we want to know like what's going on, so we're gonna allow you to take us, and let's see where this goes for right now. And I'm just like
it was just like, and so that was my thing. It's like, you have no idea what you've done or who you're truly messing with, because it didn't seem to alarm them. And then when they got on the plane, he was like, "Hey, Nikki." Joe tells Nikki, "Hey, they've got TV." Like, it was champagne. So it's like, it was just so casual. Like, to me, they were the heart of the movie. Like,
I loved the characters. And okay, so on a side note away from the movie is that I recognized Joseph. Like, I was just like, I know that dude from somewhere, and I couldn't recall. So of course I had to go online and actually figure out like, where have I seen all of these actors before? And to see that Joseph was Jafar, I was like, from Aladdin, I was just like, oh shoot, okay, I see it now. But I just remember like looking at Jafar and being like, that's a really good looking dude for being the evil villain that he's supposed to be in Aladdin. Like, he's not supposed to look that
wow.
But so I even love that, like how I was just like, okay, I recognize him. Yeah, but I love that. And then I love when they escape and they're going through, and the guy Keen, who's the head of security, when he literally shoots Nikki in the mouth and blows his brains out, and then he has to deal with Joe's reaction, and he's just like, you shot Nikki, you shouldn't have done that. And then goes and like snap, like just breaks his neck in like one move. And I was just like, oh my God, like, how did y'all think that y'all were gonna win against them?
Yeah, it was amazing. So one of my other favorite characters, she became more interesting to me the more times I watched the movie. And that was Nile. I picked it the first time I watched. I understood she was a key character, and hats off to Kiki Lane. She acted her ass off. She was amazing. I think this is like only her second major feature film. She was also in Beale Street, but so to get in there with the heavyweight and go toe to toe with Charlize Theron, especially the way they fought in that plane, was amazing. But what I noticed is that they all dream of each other. And especially when a new immortal is quote unquote born or reborn, they all have dreams of each other. But she had dreams that they didn't have. She had dreams to Quinn. She had dreams about Quinn. And then there was this other dream when they were in a safe house that she had that I couldn't quite pick up on, and I kept rewinding it, but I couldn't quite catch the scene. And so I think if they do a sequel, it will be something that plays on those dreams.
Wait,
so
are you talking about when they're in the safe house, it's the dream about Quinn that she has again?
It's a dream about Quinn, and then there's another dream that she has. Maybe it's when they were in the mine. It might be the second time when they went to the mine, after they had been exposed at the safe house and all of that. She has another dream, and it's just really, really quick. And I kept trying to rewind it to see what it was about, but I could never get a good visual on that dream. So she's having dreams that the others don't have. So it would be interesting to see how that plays out. And she's special. So it's just like, what is it going to be about her?
Well, I think because based on like the little clip that they showed, I was looking at that as in kind of when Quinn gets out of the iron cast that they put her in. Because when she does the first dream and she's talking about how she's drowning over and over and over again, and she has that second like small dream, I was just like, at the end of the movie, I was just like, so was that the moment that Quinn actually got out
of the casket
of the iron cast and actually comes to the surface, is when she has that second dream, and that's what it shows her. But because it was so quick, she doesn't even understand what it is, even though she knew the story of Quinn, because they couldn't find her for 500 years, that maybe she just didn't think anything of it. She didn't really know what it was she was seeing.
Maybe, I think it's something more, because also there's some connection between her and Quinn, because she's having the dream, when she tells them about the dream in the safe house, that's the first time she actually says, I've been dreaming of her since I woke up. Like, that wasn't her first dream. That's just the first time she told them about it. So it's just like, okay. And I think that kind of piqued Andy's interest. The character, once again, played by Charlize Theron, that's when she really seemed to start paying attention and to Niall. And kind of, I think that's when she really started to accept that, hey, maybe she does belong here. Because from what I could tell, none of the others had dreamt about Quinn. Like, they knew about her through Andy, but they had never actually dreamt of her, if that makes sense.
No, they based on what Booker said, they all dream of all of them that were alive. Like, they knew that she was still alive, but they couldn't find her in all the years that they looked for her. And then Andy kind of just stopped. But because remember, they say they dream of every single one of them. So
yeah, but she
saw all of them. That means that Booker saw Quinn as well.
But I took it to mean that they dream of them when they're born. Like, they know when they're born. That's how they know. Like, they all see each other in their dreams at that point, but they don't have recurring dreams about each other.
I see.
Like, they have.
That's the thing. I didn't catch that recurring dream thing. I caught it as in her still dreaming of her because she was dying, waking up. She was dying, waking up. And I do think it showed the importance of who Quinn was going to be, because you knew that she was going to show up. Like, I was just waiting for it. But the only one that could actually dream about Quinn when they woke up was what's his name? Booker. Because he'd never met Quinn.
Yeah. So I mean,
never met her.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like they learned to just, if they were having recurring dreams of Quinn, it's like they learned to just put them out of their head. And if you are correct, then that last flash of a dream she had is when Quinn got out. It's funny how none of them concentrated on that or noticed that, but I still think she has a special connection to Quinn. So maybe we will get a sequel to figure that out. One other thing that I really liked is how Charlize Theron, her character felt like she had kind of lost her purpose. I guess just after, we all think immortality would be great and we want to live forever, but we don't think about all the things that we leave behind and how jaded we would become, especially living for centuries. And, 2020 has felt like a century in itself. So I don't know if I could relive this year over and over for the rest of my life. But I really liked how at the end Copley had shown her and kind of given her a new sense of purpose, that, hey, you actually have done some good. Because she says at one point, we haven't made a difference. Like, the world is getting worse. It's not getting better. But I love how Copley was able to give her a new sense of purpose and show her, hey, yes, you actually have done good. You have made a difference. You may not have always seen it, but it's there.
It's because it's so little. Like, the footprints that she leaves they weren't major, and that's what she was looking for. Like, she was looking for a major change in the world. And because she wasn't seeing a major change in the world, she was seeing the negativity that when we watch the news, that's all you see on the news is all of the negativity over and over and over again, that she never went back and kind of researched on the people that she saved. She just saved them and went about her business. So of course she never knew that the people that you saved actually contributed to the betterment of society, so yeah, definitely that.
And I caught the theme of Pharma being the big bad, like the guy who, who did you say? Dudley from Harry Potter?
Yes,
he
the
plays
guy
the big
who plays
bad
the former CEO was Harry Potter. He was Dudley. He was like that fat cousin of Harry Potter who treated him horribly.
Yeah. So he's still playing assholes, but
hey, Dudley kind of turns his whole thing around at the end, right before they disappear. you know, but yeah, he was an asshole.
So, you know, I thought that was interesting to make Pharma the big bad. Maybe that's just me reading so much into that, but
and also to I think it was more like, yeah, pharmaceuticals, but also doctors who think they're gods, right?
Yes.
Because the woman doctor, I never caught her name, to say that they were going, like, how the CEO as well as the doctor wanted to torture them in order to so-called save the world. But when he tells
trying to get to that demon sperm.
Huh?
She's trying to get to that demon sperm.
But when he says, like, they have a moral obligation to basically give up their lives for science, and I'm just like, with no choice, like, they're still that was my whole thing the whole time. They're still human beings. Even if they're immortal, they're still human beings. Like, going back to when Nile first awakens, when her immortality first awakens, and it's kind of like when her friends in the military, when her friends, her sisters in arms, sees the fact that she's completely healed, they completely turn their backs on her. Like, she's not the same person. Like, that blew my mind. They packed her bags for her.
Yeah.
And
the
like,
military,
yo, your bag's ready, like, you can go now. Like,
thank you. And the military was straight up going to kill her or test the hell out of her. They were going to
test her to death. They were going to do exactly what ended up happening to Nikki and Joe and Andy and Booker, where you had them being like, oh, it's our moral obligation to figure out, like, how you healed so quickly. So we're just going to test you and torture you to death over and over and over again, trying to figure this out. And then we're gonna say, but you know, it's for science, it's for the safety, it's for the world, like how Copley did. When, because you went through the whole thing with your wife, you decided that you should volunteer them to give up their lives so that they could share with the world, when it wasn't your right to give up their lives for the world. You didn't give them the option of doing that because they're human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, that was thrown out the window. I
agree. And one of the final things that I loved about this movie, going back to Gina Prince Blythewood directing, is the soundtrack. The soundtrack from the aforementioned Love and Basketball is one of my favorite all-time movie soundtracks. And this soundtrack is amazing too. It's a little bit more house techno, but because of the movie you get it. But the songs that they featured in the movie, they fit every scene just like a glove.
Every single scene is like perfect. And like every single time something's happening, like the music drops when it needs to, it picks up when it needs to, it's soft, it's fast, it's like, I'm just like, damn, like whoever what would that be, like, not the music director, but oh my God, I don't even know what the person is called that does that, but whoever it is, she must have worked with them before, because it was just perfect selections on every single scene with every song, just fits perfectly with the movie.
Okay, so ultimately, I hope, I pray that they make this a sequel. There's been talk about it. It definitely deserves a sequel. It was set up for a sequel with the return of Quinn. But I also think it would work great as a series as well. And the only downside about a series is you may not still be able to get the stars. And I'm not talking about a series on regular television with 20 episodes. I'm talking about, of course, for Netflix, 10 to 13 episodes. I could see it going either way. But the bottom line is, for me, I definitely need more Old Guard in my life. What about you?
Yes, definitely. And they talk about, 72 million households is what Netflix said has watched The Old Guard. So it was huge, like it was such a success. But Charlize Theron did say that she was like, can she just enjoy the success before people start asking her when the second one is coming out? Is she doing the second one? Are they doing the second one? She's like, she would like to just enjoy the success of The Old Guard, showing people that no matter how old she is, she can still be an action star and kick butt every single time.
Okay. Well, Charlize, you're beautiful. Enjoy your success. We want a second one.
Yeah.
And having said that, I give it a score of 4 popcorns.
Okay, so we have been kind of on the same page because I am also giving the Old Guard 4 popcorns. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. There are some things that they can work out, kinks that they can work out for the second one, but overall, 4 out of 5 popcorns, definitely.
All right, well, thank you for tuning in. That does it for this episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. And join us next week where we will be discussing The Warrior Nun, also on Netflix. Until next time, this is Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Take care.